Today on Ancient DOS Games, we're doing Stunts. Now, anybody who's familiar with the history of DOS games has probably heard of Stunts at some point or another, because for a game that was released roughly 20 years ago, it actually has a lot of features and very impressive graphics. But before we get into too many details, let's look at the game's stats. Stunts was released in 1990 by Bruderbund, and in 1991 by Mindscape in the European market as 4D Sports Driving. It's a one-player driving game, and supports multiple graphics and sound modes, though it looks its best in its MCGA 320x200x256 color mode, and sounds its best in its Sound Blaster mode. As for its current licensing state though, this is normally where I would tell you if a game is free to download or if it's still shareware and you have to pay for it, but I can't figure out whether or not Stunts is free now or not. If you go to the most popular forum for Stunts still active online, you can find a message from the administrator that says that the original authors of Stunts have declared it to be free. But I can't find any first-party information confirming this. So if anyone has any additional information on whether Stunts is free or not, please let me know by email and I'll post any additional information on my website. Until then though, all I can say is that its release date is just ambiguous at best. Now, Stunts isn't your typical game with cars in it. Most such games nowadays are generally racing games where you've got multiple opponents, you're going around a course doing multiple laps, you're trying to beat all the opponents, get first place, win the trophy, satisfy your sponsors, and become king of the world. Okay, maybe not that far, but you get the idea. Stunts, though, is not that kind of game. Stunts is a driving game. The whole idea is you've got one course littered with obstacles, and you're just trying to do one lap, survive it, get to the finish line, and make the best time possible. Now, you can actually choose a single opponent to race against if you really want to, but the opponents in this game aren't exactly that great. If you're new to Stunts, you might find some challenge in the opponents, but for veteran Stunts players, chances are the opponents are just going to seem incompetent at best and hilariously funny to watch at worst. So really, that's the only negative thing I'm going to say about Stunts, because this game actually has a lot of stuff going for it. And one of the first things you'll probably notice is its selection of vehicles. There are 11 different cars you can choose from in this game, and they're not just no-name cars the designers came up with off the top of their heads. Nah, these are real vehicles from actual manufacturers of cars, such as Acura, Audi, Lancia, Ferrari, Chevrolet, Lamborghini, Jaguar, though most notably Porsche. There's actually 3 Porsche vehicles you can choose in this game. And there's actually 2 Lamborghini vehicles as well, though one of them is a pretty slow one. I didn't even know Lamborghini made vehicles that went under 180 mph. Granted, you're probably going to spend most of this game driving the Indy car simply because it goes the fastest and it handles the best. And you're going to need that handling for some of the obstacles you're going to be up against. Some of them might seem a little simple, like jumping over a gap or trying to get through a tunnel, but some of the obstacles can be pretty insane when you think about it. You got slaloms that you have to weave your way through, or you have a loop-the-loop, which would be physically impossible if you think about it, or even corkscrews, which are probably even more physically impossible and are going to be the bane of your existence, as they're probably one of the hardest obstacles to actually make it through successfully. So if you find yourself stuck trying to get through these obstacles, no one ever said you had to, because you can just load up the track editor and make your own tracks. That's right, this game actually has track editing built into it, and that's something that a lot of newer games don't even have. And the track editing in this game is actually really easy to use. It's just a couple keys, one for switching between your part selection and your editing screen, and another key to actually put pieces down. You hit the key twice and it will actually make a copy of whatever piece is under the cursor, and it's just incredibly easy to use. And it's not like many of the track editors nowadays where you're stuck doing the single course as it goes around and you can't plan ahead really or position things where you want to. This is a really easy track editor to use, and there's no limitations really. Okay, there are a few limitations. There's certain pieces that you won't be able to put over water, or certain pieces that you can only put if it's on flat land. There's limitations like that, but you can actually get around some of that simply by the fact that there's a hidden terrain editor. Those of you who don't know about it, listen now, because all you have to do is press Shift F1, and there you go, landscape pieces. So you want to be careful using the landscape pieces, simply because if you put them in wrong and then use the checking feature to make sure your track is okay, you can actually crash the program. So just be careful about that. So you can make your own tracks, you can choose from a wide variety of vehicles, you have some opponents you can race against who are really stupid, but they're there nonetheless. So what could make this game even better? How about the ability to save replays of your driving? I know, like, how did they come up with this stuff in 1990? Many of these features wouldn't appear in other games until much, much later. So, kudos to the design team for coming up with some great features that would become staples later on in gaming. It's just too bad this game didn't sell that well. Anyways, this game has a fairly good replay system. Like, I mean, it's not very advanced. Like, I mean, you can't do anything like cinematic with it or anything like that, but what's there is really simple to use, and you can just easily save your driving and view it later in a variety of different ways. Like, I mean, you get your basic features like being able to play back at normal speed, being able to play back at double speed, being able to seek within the replay so that you can start playing back from a certain point, but then you got a few other features like being able to change the camera view from you to your opponent, if you were racing against one of them for some reason, or even being able to change the camera angle. Like, there's a helicopter perspective, and there's a fixed camera perspective that you can align around your car in any way you want, and there's even a television camera perspective, which sort of simulates that whole TV experience of TV cameras and stationary points strewn around the track watching the vehicle as it goes by a turn or goes down a straightaway. Though I think one of the most interesting things you can do with the replay system is that you can actually stop the replay at a certain point in the middle of it, and then go into the menus and continue driving from that point in the replay, even if the track that you made the replay with doesn't even exist anymore. So it's really interesting being able to fidget with the replay in such a way that you can make it exactly the way you want to. Granted, if you continue driving from the middle of a replay, it isn't going to let you make any high scores. So, you know, that's to help keep people from cheating their way into the high score table. Though I think there's actually a way around that, but I don't actually know how to do it. And that's pretty much all I have to say about Stunts. Like, I mean, if you actually want to get a boxed copy of this game, you can just... Okay, I can't lie, this game is actually really difficult to find, and even if you do find it, you'll probably want to make sure it comes with the manual, just because the copy protection is based on the manual. What that basically means is that when you go into the game, and you go to drive in the game, it asks you a question from the manual by giving you a paragraph and having a blank, and you go to the correct page and you fill in the blank. And if you get it wrong 3 times, the car's security system activates and you crash after just a few seconds. Only real-life car security systems work that way. Actually, I think insurance companies would go nuts if real-life car security systems worked that way. So if you want to get this game working in DOSBox, it's actually not that difficult. Like, I mean, the game does work on the max or auto cycle settings, but you probably want to set a fixed cycles count simply because it'll make it easier to load the replays in a timely manner. Like, I mean, even on an older system, the replays generally loaded really slowly, and the max or auto settings might cause them to load even slower. So I recommend choosing a fixed cycles count. 20,000 is the number I use, and that should probably be the number you use too. And as for graphics filters though, you probably don't want to use any of them. Like, I mean, the HQX and the Super Eagle and those graphics filters, they do make certain games look better, but generally speaking, 3D games don't benefit from that very much, so I recommend you just leave the graphics filters off. And as for the sound and graphics settings, I recommend choosing the MCGA mode, as it gives you 256 colors, and I also recommend choosing the Sound Blaster sound because it will sound the most lively. And that's pretty much it for Ancient DOS Games Episode 1. Stay tuned for Episode 2, should be up next Saturday, and I'll be reviewing another game from 1990, though this one is actually based on a series of NES games, and is probably a good example of something I like to call ET syndrome. What is ET syndrome? Come back next Saturday and find out.